So we just got done with Palantir's earnings, and boy, what an earnings call it was. But unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of the bulls and the bears completely miss out on what actually matters to this earnings call and what all is going on with the company. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to take a little bit of a different look at Palantir's earnings, so that way you guys can get a different perspective than what we normally do here. Just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype. All right, guys, so Palantir's earnings came. We watched it live in my group actually there. Obviously, I made a few posts afterwards as well and the following morning in regards to Palantir itself. So I don't necessarily want to go down the traditional route of just rehashing the earnings once again. The information's out there. But instead, what I want to do is I want to look at what Wall Street's saying about those earnings and kind of pick it apart, pick out the goods, pick out the bads, and kind of give you guys the truth on exactly what they're trying to do to us in regards to Palantir's earnings. So that's what we'll do this time around. All right, so let's jump into the video here.
In tech, right? And so what investors and traders are going to be looking a little bit for in Palantir is we're going to be watching closely, monitoring the performance, right, of the commercial segment. That's projected to account for almost half of the company's total revenue. So that revenue is expected to grow by 32% year over year. We'll see how that plays out, but that's kind of a key element in today's earnings for Palantir.
All right, guys, right off the bat there, we talked about it in our earnings preview video. Of course, what Wall Street's looking for is commercial. And then if that actually comes through, then they're going to gripe about the government. The reality is I don't care about what the mix is in regards to the growth rates to each. What I want to see is growth continuing to accelerate, which sometimes is going to be more on the commercial side. Sometimes it's going to be more on the government side. The reality is it doesn't matter. In terms of valuation, what matters is that headline growth rate. There's nowhere in the valuation where I can go through and go, well, I really would give it a 30 multiple if they had X amount of government growth. But since they have X amount of commercial growth, now I'm going to give it a 50 multiple. Literally, nobody thinks that way. Nobody is doing anything in regards to that. These are strictly bull or bear narratives that they can cherry pick from to create a narrative to make it trade and make it appear as though they're hitting or missing, regardless of what the top line number is or the bottom line number is. It doesn't matter. They're able to create a narrative and then trade off of that. Remember, they are trading. They are looking to make money in the next week, the next 2 weeks, regardless, depending upon what kind of trade they have on, whether or not the price goes up or down. That's their game. This has zero to do with what is better for Palantir long-term or anything else like that. It has nothing to do with that. And just so that way you guys know, that's the game that they're playing.
KG, stock that, does it have the prowess to get us excited at this point if it comes in nice? Or do you think still a company that has valuation issues?
I would say there's a cohort of investors that are really dedicated to this name. So even if we really see, once again, so the commercial side of their business really continuing its growth phase here, I think you're probably going to see some strong buying activity happening for the stock. It's been a hard one to short for a lot of institutions, so I still think that there's probably more upside potential than downside movement going into this reporting, knowing that we had a significant sell-off today in the equity market.
Yeah, it's trades like 75 times forward still at this point. So I don't know how much heavy lifting it's going to be able to do for us at this point. We're in valuation correction mode. The good news is tomorrow's pretty light on the calendar. We don't really have much. And as far as the week goes, it's pretty slow for economic data too, Scott. So that might actually help us since the economic data have not been helping.
Well, that's true in part, right? Because we did get ISM, and ISM today kind of leaned a little out of the negative realm. And so, last week it was the sky is falling, all the economic data is proving it. Then we get the services numbers out today, and they're like, hang on, guys, maybe not so bad. So, I'm a little...
But, they'll continue to tell you this proves that this is coming, and this is the typical... the schizophrenia of the market, per se. They get a number they like. Hey, everything to the moon. Everything's great. They get a couple numbers they don't like. Oh my gosh, it's the worst ever. Giant recession's coming, blah, blah, blah. All the other stuff. This is rinse and repeat with Wall Street. I'm starting to go back and kind of view older videos that I made for my group and such, and other places, even right here on YouTube. And it's hilarious how right around the same times of year, right, the same type situations, the same exact narratives exist, the same exact fear narratives come out there, and then vice versa. And of course, being able to look at them through hindsight, like we are right now, you just kind of chuckle at it and go, wow, whoever believed that? And it kind of feels like, once again, we're in one of those cycles to where the news and the fear is far greater than what the actual reality is. And he's kind of exposing himself right there and the industry as a whole as to what they're kind of doing, week to week. There's no, especially the bear points that are out there in regards to the economy, the stock market, and everything else. None of this stuff was unknown out of the blue. Nobody knew. It's been known about for a long time. So why were stocks running? I don't know. You tell me. It wasn't like magically Wall Street had an epiphany over the weekend and or something new popped up over the weekend that nobody knew that created, the particular scenario we found ourselves in. So, typical Wall Street.
Or potentially optimistic. We do need a little breath. It'll be good to have a kind of a slow week in terms of economic data, but don't forget ISM was decent.
Yeah, some sticky inflationary forces, but I feel like the market was okay with that, with the recovery overall in number. Hey, Palantir's going to rip here. All right. Hope springs eternal for tech bulls, trading at $27. Palantir erases 2 days of selling basically in an instant, though we did already bounce back up off of below $21 earlier this morning. So Palantir closed around 24 and is now adding on $3, takes us actually above the range from last week too. Like I said, it's a very expensive stock with a huge multiple on the forward earnings, but did just grow at 27% on the top line. So, I mean, Palantir is still definitely an engine of growth, and it seems any concern that maybe they were going to fall down the list of government customer priorities doesn't seem to be the case. Company just beat revenue by like 20 million, 678 million versus 652, which was the estimate. Seems like their outlook was also pretty darn good here. The street was looking for their outlook to get capped at 2.7 billion for revenue, and they're pushing that up to 2.75 kg. So that's a pretty decent little report.
Yeah, especially when you're kind of looking at that Q3 guide coming in between 697 million and 701 million. She was looking for 679 million. So this is actually a really good report, and it kind of shows the fact that the AI exposure that they have continues to grow, and they kind of highlight the strength that they are seeing in that segment, as well as the commercial side of their business. So I think this is actually a pretty decent relief for all the red that we saw on the screen here today, Oliver. And as you talked about, I mean, it's only 2 days.
Yep. Obviously, you see the earnings released right while they were filming this video here, so it's always kind of fun getting their raw reactions to it, especially when they kind of figure out they may have said one thing prior and then maybe have to reverse course or something else. But you saw the huge difference there in price. I mean, right there on the screen, it's trading at $28 at the time, but you could buy it for $20, in the $20 range that morning. My order didn't fill, but we had lots of other group members where their orders were filling at, $20 and some change, $21 and some change. A whole lot of buying activity out there. I know a lot of you guys were out there doing it as well because you were prepared for whatever the heck the ridiculousness that was to come. And then here you are basically in the same exact day with a massive, massive gain the other end on a single day trade. Some of my other, buys like on SoFi obviously did very, very well. I was able to get some of the shares in the fives again, if you can believe that. Very, very happy. I may very well get a chance to get fives again. Who knows? It's SoFi. Kind of seems like it can't get started there. But you see how herky-jerky the market was, and how when you get opportunities, sometimes they're in the pre-market and sometimes they're very, very, very short-lived. That's why you have to know your plan. You have to have your price targets, and you just execute to them at that stage. That's how you take advantage of opportunity, because if you wait and see, well, maybe it'll go lower whenever the market opens, anything else like that, well, now you're looking at trying to pay $28 versus, $20, which is what you could have had it in the pre-market, $21, whatever the case is. So it kind of shows you right there, playing those games and just not executing whenever the time comes never really works out in the end for you. And of course, that's exactly why trading is so hard as well.
That it's really recovering right now, but you got to start somewhere, and I think that's really where it's a lot of these bulls within this name probably will find a little bit of comfort in.
Yeah, got to start somewhere. Scott Durfee, not a bad little place to try and maybe invigorate overnight traders.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could very well do that. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. Do remember, we are in the beginning of August. It is a little more thinly traded. So perhaps the movement wouldn't be as great as it would be otherwise. But we should definitely take a look.
Their operating profit up 88% over the past year. Kevin, I mean, that's going to help a lot. The valuation, too, for sure. It seemed like margins increased a ton. I mean, they're doing big stuff, improving the balance sheet.
Yeah, definitely. And also when you're looking at the U.S. commercial revenue, so that grew by around 55%.
All right. So right there's another Wall Street game. He literally set it up perfectly, talking about things that matter to valuation in the end, which is really what matters. That's really the bigger piece that drives stock price. And you notice immediately he kind of sets the guy up for a layup per se, that, hey, there's a lot of growth here in terms of, margins, profitability, everything's going up and getting a lot better, some big numbers there. And he immediately jumps right back over to, well, yeah, I'm looking here at commercial growth. It's called, they're trying to fit their narrative, whatever their narrative is. They're not, I don't care about the commercial growth and all the other good things like that as much as I care about the growth and profitability. I'm not saying it's not important, but I don't care about it nearly as much as profitability. And I'm sorry if I'm giving a layup like that. I'm like, yeah, heck yeah. They're executing wonderfully. They're increasing their margins. They're increasing their profitability. They're spitting out tons of net income on the other end. Free cash flow. They've always been a free cash flow beast, but that's getting even better. Oh, by the way, and they're also buying back shares as well. So again, a perfect setup there to give a great bullish narrative that matters to the bottom line, to valuation, to the stock price, and they go in a completely different direction altogether. So again, just trying to show you guys how Wall Street, even on a great report with somebody who I think is somewhat bullish on Palantir, I don't know the guy specifically, so I couldn't tell you exactly. He didn't at least come across as a bear, but he still misses the boat in regards to the most important thing in the stock and in regards to stock price.
Year-over-year basis. And even if you're looking at quarter-over-quarter, that came in at 6%. Customer count, when you're looking at the commercial business, grew 83% year-over-year, 13% quarter-over-quarter. I mean, these are the type of numbers you really want to be able to see hit these healthy growth rates. The commercial remaining deal value, you can kind of look at that as maybe like their backlog equivalent, if you will, grew 103% year-over-year, 11% quarter-over-quarter. They're getting deals, Oliver, and they're getting deals done, and it looks like they're able to deliver on those deals, and that's why you're seeing that showing up on the top line revenue. And even if you're looking at the government revenue, which is a little bit more cyclical in nature, is still relatively strong. So I think right now this company has been able to prove itself. There's a lot of skeptics out there around this name. Obviously, the forward multiple is very expensive, but if you're kind of looking at it from a price to sales standpoint with these type of growth rates, you could most likely kind of justify the fact that why it deserves a premium in this market, where a lot of their competitors probably are seeing a little bit more of a stagnant growth here in the near term.
Okay, yeah, good analysis. A pretty good number here. Bottom line, top line, does look good next to peers too. To your point, cloud group much more lackluster than hardware. I mean, this is kind of one of those earnings that almost looks like it would be attached more to kind of some of the more hardware style of outlooks we've gotten over the past year, where there's a clear uplift in some of the AI-driven demand. All right, so Palantir pretty good here.
All right, so we'll go ahead and stop the video right there. That guy in the middle there, I don't normally agree with him a whole lot. He's kind of the herky-jerky kind of host trying to create a name for himself, whatever the case is. I've seen him a few times. But he was the only one talking about things that mattered in the end. The other two guys were all over the map about all kinds of other things that don't freaking matter. And I guess if you had to choose, would you much rather net income go up or customer count go up? I think I'm taking net income. I don't know about you. You can have customer count go up all you want, but if you're not seeing net income, get better or continue to increase, if you're not seeing those margins continue to improve, if you're not seeing revenue continue to go up at a reasonable clip, all those other metrics don't matter. But again, these guys are Wall Streeters and they're looking for narratives that fit their particular trades that they have on for the stock itself. So that's just kind of something you have to understand, that even with great earnings, which it was a great earnings call overall, you still can't get down to the bottom. And this is why listening to these guys is useless. They are playing a different game. They are trading and they are trying to create narratives to make their trades wind and unwind the correct way for them to maximize and make the most amount of money. That's all that they are doing. They're not looking at it from a long-term buy and hold investor's perspective. Even if they talk about things that we care about as a long-term buy and hold investor, even if they say, oh, well, this is great for 2 years out or for 5 years out or whatever the case is, know in the back of your mind, that's not really what they care about. Just know that they're looking to make money this quarter, this month, this quarter, maybe the next quarter, maybe at the latest. That's their focus. That's their timeline that they're looking at. And that's why they jump on all these other little things that they can create narratives out of and, create huge numbers one way or huge declines another way, or, kind of create whatever talking narrative they want instead of dealing with the actual facts that matter in the end. And remember, if you want to be able to jump on earnings calls live with me, and if you need help with doing evaluation, you want to see my buy alerts in real time, you want to see my complete watch list with price targets to include a lot of stocks that we talk about here on this channel, make sure you check out the pinned comment for my group, where I may have left something special down there for those of you guys that have gotten this far in the video, where you get all that. You get 5 free courses, you get free coaching, you get access to the free stock analyzer tool. You get to be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there. Guys, there's so much involved in the actual group. Make sure you check out the pinned comment, see if a membership's right for you, and get your special gift while you're there. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.